Focus and flow. 1. The power of focus. In the early hush of morning, when the world still hesitates between sleep and awakening, there is a narrow window, a sacred silence, that holds the seed of greatness. The air feels cleaner before the first notification. The light is softer before the first meeting. In that thin layer of stillness, the human mind rediscovers its power, the ability to focus. Focus is more than concentration. It is the shaping of consciousness itself. It is the difference between scattering your light across 100 surfaces and aiming it through a single point until it burns. The sun warms, but a laser cuts steel. That is the difference between activity and achievement. Most people confuse motion with progress. They rush from task to task, from screen to screen, mistaking noise for momentum. But every distraction comes with a hidden tax, a fragment of your attention that you never recover. You lose the day not by wasting hours, but by letting your attention be sliced into seconds. True focus is rebellion. In an age of constant interruption, silence is an act of defiance. To sit down and give yourself fully to one thing, one idea, one project, one craft, is to reclaim your mind from the marketplace. Think of Steve Jobs, who said that innovation is not about saying yes to everything, but about saying no to all but the essential. Or Bruce Lee, who declared, "I fear not the man who has practiced 10,000 kicks once, but the man who has practiced one kick 10,000 times." In the narrowing lies power. In the repetition lies transcendence. When you focus deeply enough, the noise of the world fades. The chatter of insecurity grows quiet. You stop being someone chasing success and become something larger, the vessel through which creation itself wants to happen. The designer, the athlete, the musician, the coder, the writer, they all meet here, in the space where time begins to stretch and dissolve. Focus is fidelity, the promise you make to your own becoming. It is not about doing more, but about being more present in what you do. When you belong entirely to one moment, the universe begins to align around that commitment. The chaos outside remains, but within you, there is order. And that is where mastery begins. 2. The flow state. There is a threshold, invisible, yet felt, that divides effort from ease. At first, you are pushing against the weight of your own resistance. Every sentence feels heavy, every brushstroke uncertain, every movement deliberate, like walking through water. Then something shifts, the weight begins to float. The mind and body align, and the doing begins to do itself. You are no longer forcing the work. You are being carried by it. This is the flow state, the sacred rhythm of total immersion where time forgets your name. In flow, your awareness sharpens, yet your sense of self fades. The task becomes its own universe. You stop thinking about writing and simply write. You stop thinking about playing and simply play. The dancer disappears into the dance. The painter dissolves into the painting. It is here that excellence feels effortless, but that effortlessness is earned. Through years of practice, through the patience of attention, through the quiet discipline that most people avoid because it is invisible. Flow is not an accident. It is the reward for faithful focus. Psychologists call it the merging of action and awareness. Ancient masters called it the union of mind and body. Athletes call it the zone. Musicians call it the groove. Spiritual seekers call it presence. The words differ. The experience is the same, the pure joy of total absorption. Time bends inside this state. Minutes feel like seconds, or hours vanish in a heartbeat. You emerge from it not drained, but renewed. Flow gives more energy than it takes. It is a state where the doing becomes the reward. No external validation required. But flow does not visit the distracted. It requires a door, and focus is that door. You invite flow by clearing space. One goal, one challenge that stretches you but doesn't break you, and one stream of feedback that keeps you alive inside the moment. Look at a craftsman at his bench, eyes narrowed, movements precise, breathing steady. Look at a swimmer slicing through the water, lost in rhythm. Look at a coder in a dark room. The world gone silent except for the hum of keys and the pulse of thought. They are not merely working, they are merging with something sacred. Flow is a form of love, the kind that asks for everything you are and gives back something timeless. When you rise from that place, the world looks different. The air feels cleaner. The work glows with a quiet magic. You remember who you were meant to be before the noise began. And when you find it once, you'll spend the rest of your life searching for it again. That perfect rhythm between effort and surrender, that invisible current beneath the surface of all great creation. 3. The discipline of stillness. Every artist, athlete, or thinker who has touched greatness knows this secret. Focus and flow are born from stillness. The world sells speed. The spirit grows in silence. Stillness is not the absence of movement. It is the foundation beneath it. It is the calm eye of the hurricane where clarity lives. When your mind is quiet, your vision sharpens. When your heart is still, your actions become deliberate. We spend our days chasing goals, messages, recognition, but we rarely stop long enough to hear the sound beneath the noise. Stillness is where you remember what truly matters. It's the pause before the no, the breath before the leap, the space that gives meaning to sound. Discipline begins here, not in willpower, but in awareness. To build focus, you must build boundaries, sacred spaces in time where nothing and no one can reach you. The first hour of the morning, the last hour before sleep, these are your temples. Protect them fiercely. Within those boundaries, establish rituals that anchor you. A slow breath before beginning, a handwritten intention, a brief note to your future self. Start here, tomorrow. The body learns safety and routine. The mind learns trust. Together, they invite depth. Stillness also demands courage. The courage to be bored, to resist the itch to switch tasks, to sit with discomfort until it transforms into rhythm. Great work often begins the moment you want to quit. Stay. Wait. The wave always returns to those who remain. And remember recovery. Focus without rest becomes obsession. Flow without stillness burns into exhaustion. True mastery is sustainable because it respects the cycle. Focus, flow, rest, return. Each part feeds the next. The wise know this. Productivity is not the goal. Presence is. When you are fully here, even the smallest act becomes sacred. Brewing coffee, typing a sentence, tying your shoes. The discipline of stillness turns ordinary moments into gateways to peace. So when distraction knocks, let it find you calm. When doubt whispers, let it speak. But do not obey. When fear tells you to stop, smile and take one more step into silence. Because stillness is not passive. It is the highest form of strength. From stillness comes focus. From focus comes flow. And from flow comes fulfillment. At the end of the day, you will not remember how fast you worked or how many tasks you completed. You will remember the moments when you were completely alive inside your craft, when time disappeared, when your heart and hands were one, when you were no longer doing the work but being the work. That is the essence of mastery. That is the art of attention. That is the quiet victory no one else can see. The place where greatness grows without noise, without rush, without permission. Focus is not about doing more. It is about being fully present in what matters most. Flow is not an accident. It is the reward for faithful attention. See, Minh Quang Le 4. Transcendence, becoming the flow. Beyond focus, beyond flow, beyond stillness, there lies something greater, transcendence. The moment you no longer seek the state because you are the state. Transcendence begins when you stop treating focus and flow as tools and start realizing they are reflections of your true nature. You are not a machine trying to optimize output. You are consciousness seeking coherence. When you transcend, you work not to prove, but to express. You create not to be seen, but to see. The artist paints to understand beauty. The monk prays to touch silence. The scientist studies the stars to remember where we came from. Transcendence happens quietly. There's no applause, no metric, no chart. Just the still knowing that you are in harmony with something infinite. A rhythm older than time. You begin to sense that focus is not a skill to master, but a way of loving the present moment. Flow is not a technique, but the natural language of your being when fear is gone. Stillness is not rest. It is home. In transcendence, work and life blur. Effort becomes meditation. Creation becomes communion. You live each day as a conversation with the divine, no matter what your hands are doing. The greatest artists, thinkers, and visionaries all touch this space. They are not superhuman. They are fully human. They learn to stay open, attentive, receptive, long enough for something greater to pass through them. And when it does, the result is timeless. The music of Bach, the brush of Van Gogh, the prose of Rumi, the code of a genius mind at 3 a.m., all born from the same river that runs through you too. Transcendence is the full circle. The mind focuses, the soul flows. The heart finds stillness, and the spirit awakens. When you reach that point, you no longer chase greatness. You radiate it, quietly, naturally, effortlessly. You understand that every distraction you overcame, every hour of deep work, every silent dawn, was never just about productivity. It was training for presence. Because in the end, the purpose of focus is not success. It is serenity. The purpose of flow is not speed. It is unity. The purpose of stillness is not rest. It is awakening. And when all three merge into one, you transcend not just your work, but yourself. Focus gives you direction. Flow gives you movement. Stillness gives you meaning. Together, they make you whole. See, Minh Quang, Le Closing. Reflection. In a world that glorifies constant motion, dare to be still. In a culture addicted to noise, dare to listen. In an era obsessed with more, dare to go deep. Focus.flow. Stillness. Transcendence. 4 steps. 1 journey. Back to yourself.